What's up, everyone? Showdown breakdown. Monday Night Football. Seahawks at the Giants. Let's do this. All right, it's Monday Night Football. We got the Showdown breakdown. Seattle traveling to New York, take on the Giants. And I got to show you guys this. This is one of my favorite. Listen, we had a freaking spectacular NFL Week 4 at DFS Army. I don't even want to get in. If you were following the content, you already know because you were here. The core plays crushed it across the board. Devon crushed. Nico Collins. And I want to show a new entry to the DFS Army Wall of Champions. Now, you guys might be like, hey, that's a $1,500 win. That's not impressive.
So it's more impressive than almost anything that we have on that wall right now.
This is more impressive than anything that anybody here has ever done. Larry B is blind. This is a person who is hard of sight, does not have sight. Okay. My guy loves to play DFS, and he's been a DFS Army member for years. Taken down a tournament. Unbelievable. I see so many things by the and so congrats to Larry B's, bro. Good job, man. This is super impressive. Like you blew me away.
I mean, the guy goes through and like his reader reads his cheat sheets to us. He uses the reader to read the research station and all of the like the matchups data, and like it takes him at least 3 to 4 times as long as everybody else. And to see him win, like I can't be more stoked for him.
By the way, and that lineup, man, it's like it was like words coming out the mouth. Allen, Kamara, that's the Bobbywow special. Devon, bring back on that game. Nico Collins, Geek special this week. So Nico Collins was so good, and Kyron Williams. So really great week. We're gonna top it off with another smash.
Yep.
I know some of you guys. I mean, you guys know if you've been in DFS Army, you know Larry.
You know.
Freaking blow my mind. And by the way, like Vincenzo's in here. He had a big win also, but like, sorry guys, like the one that blew me away is Larry's. So that's the one we're going to show. That is just incredible. So with that being said, we got a showdown tonight, and I love this one, DFS Up North. This is a fun one.
It's kind of it's an interesting game.
Really different from last night. Last night was a tie fest. It was kind of like, I wasn't excited about it from the beginning. T-Swizz night. That part I liked, actually. I was down for that. But I'm over it now.
She got more coverage than her boy last night. He didn't do much.
No, jumped the shark. But because they were all hanging out the night before. Listen,
true.
This was the thing. They were all hanging out. It's too much. So enough. Yeah, and that's right. I had a pretty decent finish in the flea. If only Josh Palmer would have caught some of those pets. The dude got 8 targets. Like it wasn't that for lack of targets.
Yep.
I came in 5th in the flea, and it would have been nice to take first. I'm not going to show you a 5th place Geek finish. No one cares. But we got this tonight. So let's talk Giants home versus Seattle, and start on the Giants side. Now, just in general, Josh, I think Giants going to win tonight.
I kind of like them here. At home, the Seahawks aren't. It's going to be a shootout. Like I think it's going to be more of a shootout than maybe even anyone expects.
Yeah. I think this is a game with lots of scoring, and one of the things I've noticed as putting lineups together already, and we'll go through the matchups, is it's not hard to fit whoever you want. Like it is pretty open. We don't have like the pay up stud. There's no Travis Kelce or Mahomes that you have to play. You have, I think, I'm going to say Geno Smith priced a little incorrectly in the matchup, which kind of helps as well. So incorrectly, like above Danny Dimes is what I'm saying. So
yeah, Dimes is cheap, but I mean, I guess maybe you're paying for floor or perceivably playing for floor.
I don't know what you're paying for there, but I will explain why Dimes should be more expensive in a second. But let's get into this. Saquon Barkley doubtful. We're assuming. Yeah. Sorry, Leron. We're talking in codes, but yeah, Danny Dimes, Danny Jones. So
Dan Jones.
On that note. You know what? I'll show you. Bill's asking about defense. So let's go to the matchup sheet before we actually look at the direct matchups. But if you take a look here, you could see that, interestingly, it does look like Seattle's run defense is pretty good on the season, or it is doing a good job of limiting opponents' rushing yards on the season. I don't know how relevant it is because the Giants are rolling out Breida anyway. So basically what this matchup sheet tells us is the Giants should not be expected to run a ton. I don't buy this. Seattle, pretty neutral in terms of the running game and the passing game. And Seattle's defense has been, I would say, very bad versus the pass, which is predicting elevated passing game work for the Giants here. So that's what the matchup sheet is showing. Right, as we go to the matchups themselves, I like to understand the snap counts of some of these players. So last week was the first week that Saquon Barkley didn't play. And Matt Breida got 82% of the snaps at running back last week. Now, it was blowout type beating game. So it's hard to glean a ton. I'm assuming that Breida is the better pass protector between him and Brightwell. So in a game against the 49ers, they're going to have him in the game. But I think this is predictive. I think it'll be Breida as the prime running back. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, he played a ton. They just didn't run the ball. He had 4 rushing attempts in that game. 4, which is just kind of a wild number. But he had a couple of pass targets, 3 targets. I don't know. Like, I don't really have any interest in this running game.
I mean, the matchup sheet does say this is not where you want to put your priorities. So if you're playing Breida, you basically have to give up like a Tyler Lockett. So, choices need to be made.
Doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, choices need to be made. But again, I would throw out a little bit of what we saw last week. So 2 things from last week. I throw it out because it's San Francisco and it's hard to run on them. Like you don't go into San Francisco like, oh, we're going to run it up the gut. Like it's not that easy to do that against San Francisco. But one thing that is interesting is as much as Brightwell had a much lower snap count, his participation was the same as Breida. So that's kind of interesting. So let's not just sleep on Gary Brightwell here.
If I remember right, watching the game, he got in on the 2-minute drill too, which is where you can rack up a bunch of points in a hurry, especially on DraftKings.
So yeah, certainly Brightwell is not an afterthought here. The wide receiver group for the Giants is very difficult to decipher. But we're going to try. So here's snap counts from last week, right? Isaiah Hodgins and Slayton at 60, Slayton the most at 84%. Hodgins came in at 66% of the snaps, with Campbell losing a little bit of snaps to Wan'Dale Robinson, it seems like, which is really interesting. So Paris Campbell, Wan'Dale Robinson, both kind of slot guys.
Yep.
And it looks like as they started to work Wan'Dale back into the game plan, Paris Campbell
he took a little bit of a backseat, but he did. I think if I'm looking at it right, if I remember right, he led the team in targets and he had like 6 or 7, but he ended up with like 22 yards. So everything was just right tight to the line. Didn't do much with it.
Again, we got to throw out a game against San Francisco. Like they're a good defense. Yep. Yeah. So they're a good defense. But what's interesting for me is Wan'Dale is coming off injury last week. He gets the 22. I would expect Wan'Dale's snap shares to be increasing week after week. He came into the season injured, right? So players like this.
I mean, did you see the hit he took on his first catch last week? Like, I thought he was done again. Like, he got absolutely wrecked across the middle, but came back out and played the rest of the game. So
I love it. I love it when they pop back up because you're so nervous when you see those.
And he just was like, he was doing the like,
Yeah, no, it's good. So Wan'Dale, he's a little dude, but little guy. It's the season of the short kings, man. It is the season for short kings, bro. I should have. Man, I wish this was my era.
You could have been.
If I was 25 years younger, I feel like I could have gone for it. Short kings, man. Come on. So Jalen Hyatt mixes in a little bit. Turd. Sterling Shepard at this point. Just nothing. So like, be careful with these guys. Deron Waller, 82% snap share last week, 20% of the targets. He didn't catch a lot of them, to be honest. But Darren Waller is somebody they're trying to get to be a stud here.
they're forcing it to him, and 49ers did a really nice job, right? They anything that went his way, they were knocking out of the air. They did a nice job, but they were blanketed on him. So I don't think Seattle can do that. So I expect Waller to have a better output here.
Absolutely. And one of the turds that I never mind, and I always want to have a little taste of Daniel Bellinger, $200 in the game, 60% snap count. Doesn't get thrown to a lot, but that's the kind of guy that catches a touchdown in a game like this. So we can't just fully ignore Bellinger. He's in the mix. He's in the turd mix, right? So it's a really interesting, again, a lot of names and a lot of players in the mix this week on the Giants side. Let's take a look at Seattle, who also will have like a lot of names, and it's like a bunch of tight ends. What do you know about Noah Fant? Is he playing?
I mean, I haven't checked Twitter in a bit, but let's see if we can find anything. I mean, he's anytime you pop up on the injury report on a Saturday, that's typically not a great sign, right? Like nothing out yet. We got to watch the things tonight.
We're going to pay close attention to the tight end situation, primarily because Seattle does throw to the tight end. They are a throws to the tight end kind of a team. Like you're going to see Colby Parkinson, Noah Fant in the mix. Sometimes Will Dissly's in that mix. They definitely throw
two-tutty game.
Yeah, Dissly might be on the turd spinner as one of the heads. Like he's one of those guys that will burn you.
But he's coming off injury too. He's questionable as well. I think he's more likely to play than Fant, but yeah, we
got to just pay attention to that scene. I think it's Colby Parkinson that winds up stepping. If Fant is out, that gets the best of it. So maybe we'll get a Parkinson smash day if Dissly's still limited and Fant is kind of beaten up. You know, it's like Dissly smash week over in DraftKings and FanDuel town. So we'll see about that. But
I'm going there.
Yeah, why not? So taking a look at the rest of the Seahawks team, right? You've got Walker and Zach Charbonnet in a mix at running back at this point. Walker on the better side of that. But if you look at the snap counts last week, 50%, 42, Charbonnet is climbing. And, you know, it is annoying, but Seattle does kind of like to have a 1-2 punch a little bit. It's annoying. I'm not going to lie.
Yep,
it's annoying.
It's annoying. But I mean, it's still Charbonnet's only like 22 projected rush yards, whereas Walker's like 64. Like it's just enough to where Walker's not necessarily a smash, right?
Yes. And by the way, I think Walker's just a better player. Now, I don't know if that doesn't mean anything, but I think Walker's a better natural runner.
Yes.
So I don't know what that means. You know, to my eye, Walker is a slightly better running back.
Better player.
So, you know, that is what it is. I don't know how that matters that much in a showdown, though. Like I mention it, but it doesn't really matter. It's a showdown. I mean, who cares? Like somebody.
I mean, score. I think we could see potentially both running backs in the nuts.
Yeah,
they both get a tutty. Like crazier things have happened.
DJ Dallas more of an afterthought for me. He will he will get a couple snaps though. 13% snap share. But he'll come in on occasion, but on rare occasion. At wide receiver, do not be fooled. Like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett have pretty much been the same guy for multiple years. Like I know one game Metcalf will go nuts, and then and I know Metcalf was drafted 2 rounds earlier in your fantasy football league. But the reality is, if you look at the average fantasy production for both of these guys over the last year and a half, going back to the Geno Smith era, they have averaged the exact same fantasy points per game. Exactly. You know, they do it a little different, but it's been the same. So, and it seems to me, Josh, like it's like one or the other in most weeks. It's rarely both of them.
It's rarely both of them.
Yeah. Not to say it can't be. I'm not making a rule.
No,
I'm not ruling that out, but it's just.
I'm always a DK Metcalf guy, but yeah, just because Lockett's target share is not what it was. It's not what, at least this season hasn't been as good.
It's no different. The numbers are here. The numbers are there. There is no evidence.
He's not bringing any of them in. Is the
you know what it is? Neither one of these guys get a ton of targets most weeks. And so it almost feels less because Metcalf's targets are deeper and he's in the end zone when they're throwing to him. So it feels better.
Right.
But the reality is these guys are both getting 6 to 7 targets a week. And it's not like massive numbers.
Right. The thing is, but like Lockett 3 for 7 and 2 for 6, like whereas Metcalf is 6 for 6, 5 for 6, 7 for 8. Like he's bringing in the receptions.
Yeah, but again, games, environments, it all changes. You don't know what we're going to see. This could be the Lockett week. Lockett,
sure.
Both of these guys can go off and be the nuts captain very easily, and they're both very heavily in my captain mix this week for sure. I don't know how much of each, but I'm not really differentiating how much of each guy. It's going to be about 12-13% for each guy. I don't really differentiate them too much.
Metcalf because he's a matchup nightmare.
That's fair. Couple of other notes here. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 44%. Jake Bobo, 41% snap share. So it looks like Bobo and Jigba are pretty much splitting that WR3 kind of those opportunities.
They're playing Bobo as a JSN is just he's a rookie. He can't block. They're bringing in Bobo to run on like any of their running snaps. He's in the game. And he ended up catching a third touchdown last week. So I think people are going to end up he's going to be higher owned than he should be. Whereas in Jigba's the better play.
Football man I'm assuming that's for the showdown breakdown sheet. Can you write up a little bit longer what exactly Seattle wide receivers captain, opposing team tight end? I wouldn't take this.
Yeah, that's just from the last year and a half.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that as predictive of anything. I don't think that's super predictive. Even if it's there, it's more of an interesting nugget.
There's no real correlation. It's you know what I mean between what an opponent does and what you do, right? Like there's some, but I guess with those positions I would struggle with.
Oh, I was supposed to have the hang on. So okay, let me prep the cheat sheet. So one thing I did want to sort of talk to you about here was just like you have Geno Smith priced above Daniel Jones, right?
Okay.
And I'm leaning Danny Jones as the better play if I have to choose one for multiple reasons. But I wanted to point out because somebody said high floor versus ceiling, and I go the opposite way. I think Danny Jones has the higher floor, and here's the reasoning.
Yeah, why?
Seattle has the ability to lean on the running game if the game were to go that direction. So where Seattle has a running back that could suck up all the fantasy points, similar to how Eckler affects Herbert in almost a negative way where he's sucking up all the touchdowns, right? Seattle, I'm not saying this will happen, but Seattle at least has a running back that can take over the game.
I think it's hard, right? Like I would agree to a point because Kenneth Walker has 4 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, right? 2 each week.
He took over the game.
And Geno's gone for 296 and 328 in both of them.
But he hasn't scored any points. But look at his fantasy production.
He put up 28 points. He put 28 points in week 2.
But what did he score last week?
18.
Yeah. So
whereas Dimes has 2 single-digit performances.
Yes, but against elite defenses on the road, like this is a different.
Week 1's not.
Dallas is not elite.
I guess.
Are you? Good. Come on, you got to stop, dude. Dallas is in competition with San Francisco and the Jets for the best defense. And actually, the Jets didn't show me too much last night. So I mean, it's Dallas and San Francisco as the best defenses right now.
Right.
So
I think it's a little blasphemous to say Danny Dimes has a better floor. I think potentially yes, but like over the course of his career, he's shown us that he doesn't have a floor. He has a much better ceiling than anyone in this game.
That's fair. As you think about Dimes, he's usually either getting you 30 or like a 5.
He could legitimately throw 5 picks tonight.
Yeah. Again, I don't expect that. Because anything can happen. Anything can happen. I don't expect that because they're at home. And again, they're not facing. Dimes does that against elite defense. You cannot play these guys against great defensive teams.
Every single cornerback is out for Seattle too. So
there you go. So as a bonus, Seattle's team is even more decimated. So that's what I'm saying. I think Danny Jones, by the way, who cares about floor? All we care about is ceiling. We're trying to win a tournament, and Jones has an absolute higher
he's my
ceiling.
favorite. He's my favorite captain.
Yeah, there we go. And again, that doesn't mean you can't play Gino. Doesn't mean I don't like Gino. I very much prefer Jones as a captain. I don't really like Gino as a captain all that much. I think you could do better than him. So let's get into it. DraftKings captain spot. And looking through the notes, let's start with Kenny Walker. You always want that running back. Last night it was Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, we were on that.
Oh, man.
What?
I didn't play him in captain at all.
Oh, I liked that last week.
Everybody won last night, and me, because I got all like, nah, this guy never scored. It's the Jets.
There's 3 running backs.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. So I was like on my high horse. I will not play Isaiah Pacheco as a captain. And of course that burned. Like, oh, fuck, all right. It was such a good day anyway. Who cared for the showdown? But yes. But Kenny Walker, absolutely solid captain. We see here on the sheet again, you can expect Seattle around 110 rushing yards. If we get 100 and a touchdown, that might be.
Walker. I think so. Walker's line 64.5. That seems about right.
Yeah, 64.5. But I mean, that's a good mean score. But he could get 100.
He could. I mean,
Gino.
Obviously.
So I'm not a big fan of this style of quarterback, especially not one that doesn't spread the football that much as a captain play on DraftKings. Has Gino, looking at the showdown analytics sheet, and I don't have it open here, how frequently has Gino been the nuts captain in a showdown?
He was in week 2.
He already pulled it off once this season.
Yep.
All right. So there you go. The way I have it set up, when Gino is a captain, for me, I'm stacking him with 2 pass catchers because I don't think he could get there by just sucking one pass catcher with
3.
I'm not doing the 3, but I'm doing the 2.
You wouldn't do Lockett, Metcalf, and Colby Parkinson.
Yeah, and Scotty and Alex both looked this up. So this dude in 21 games for Seattle has only once effectively been the nuts captain on the slate. So yeah, and it's 19% wide receiver. This is just a better way to go. So
So here's the problem. Here's the problem with that data though, right? It's like in this game, so Kenny Walker's done it twice. Historically, DK Metcalf has never done it. Lockett once. Like, you know what I mean? So like that's with both teams. Like, so Seattle typically just never has the nuts captain. Right. And same thing for New York. They statistically just never have the nuts captain. I think between the 2 teams, we're looking at 10, 20, 30, 50, like 60-ish%.
Yeah. Well, we have to choose from these 2 teams. So.
And that's the thing is now we have to choose from these 2. So statistically, yes, at one time, but like when you have 2 turds playing each other, somebody's going to be it.
Yeah. I look at it though. I think the QB is different though. You have to pay attention to these quarterbacks and how they play. Mahomes is captain frequently because he spreads the football around like a lunatic. So it rarely pulls that wide receiver along. It's like not one guy that outscores him. But, when you watch these games, unless both Lockett and Metcalf or Njigba and or Colby Parkinson or one of these other guys is going bananas, and both of them are going bananas, like you just don't see. Or Gino randomly sneaks one in, which could happen, but it's not very common for him. That could totally happen. Listen, the NFL is also... At this point, all the teams have figured out that if you just push the quarterback into the end zone and have the running back just push him in, it's almost impossible to stop that goal line play.
I'm watching high school football and going, why aren't we just doing this every play? Like, why are we trying to do anything else?
Speak to the coach at your kid's team. Not every play, but you know what? If it's a 3rd and short in high school, it could be like 3rd and 5. That's short enough.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could just go up and down the field and get 5 yards a pop.
My high school team needs to do that. Those kids got blown out 48-0 on Friday night. They stink. Bunch of kids that look like me at this high school.
We need high school DFS.
Yeah. Anyway, so of course we talk about Daniel Jones. I don't think I am stacking Daniel Jones with one.
I think so, right?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I don't care.
I don't know if I'm doing any more than one though. Are you going to do more than one?
Nope, just one.
I think it's one.
Yeah, because if Jones is getting there, it's 70% likely that he's doing it via the run. So like he's running for a touchdown, which means he doesn't have to carry two. But if he's so bad that he's not carrying at least one player, I don't think the Giants are having a good thing. A good enough game. So yeah, so Danny Jones, I'm stacking him with one, and he is for me my highest exposed QB play. Let's see what the ownership is. Yeah, dude, this ownership projection is crazy. 25% captain. Do you think that's going to hold?
Probably, right? Like, I don't know. People know who Danny Dimes is now, don't they?
Yeah, but I mean, like 25%. All I'm seeing is the cockamamie thing. Everybody's reposting, I guess, one about how Jones has only won once in prime time out of 13 tries. So I think that's going around, and I like when shit like that goes around, so we can do the opposite.
Right. What was Mahomes' cap?
By the way, yeah, he lost in primetime. The Giants absolutely sucked ass for pretty much the last 4 seasons. Up until about the last few weeks of last season, they had a few good games. Like, this is a bad team. They've been terrible throughout the whole Danny Dimes era. Partially his fault, but games without Dayball, who cares?
Yeah.
Metcalf versus Lockett. You're taking a stand here, Josh. I'm not going to take that stand.
I'm telling you right now, it's Metcalf game.
Convince me.
I just think he's the better receiver. I think Tyler Lockett is a little bit washed. Like, he had 2 touchdowns the other day. I get that, but I just think that Metcalf is way harder to cover than Tyler Lockett.
Okay. I mean, all right. That's not super
wide receiver cornerback thing here. Hold on.
By the way, I'm not arguing it. I'm just saying, convince me. To me, my point of view is they're similar. Yeah, Metcalf might have a little more touchdown upside, but I think Lockett has more yak upside.
I mean, yeah, maybe. What's their? Let me look here. I'm just bringing up Seattle. There we go. Like, you're 5'10" and 175 pounds. Like, I get that you might, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to have a 5-inch deficit in height differential against his starting cornerback.
I'm sure DK always has that every week, though. That's not like unusual.
No, I'm saying like Lockett's going up against a 6'3" guy.
Are they? Lockett's got the 6'3" guy and Metcalf got the 5'10" guy?
Metcalf's will be
switch that up.
Just X out of it, right? Like, yeah, but guys can't play the other side of the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty known. Like, DK gets. I don't know. I don't agree that even DK gets the volume. I think their volume is kind of similar, but what they're doing is they're just tossing bombs to Lockett. So if he catches 2 of them, he just puts up a monster score.
That's the thing is,
but he's less likely. Yeah, he's less likely. Let's put it like this: Lockett is less likely to catch that ball because they're bombs, every single one. Where Metcalf is also deeper ADOT. Neither one of these guys are like short depth guys, but Metcalf is in more catchable. Maybe he's in more catchable situations. I don't know. That's how I'm going to put it. For
2.5 fantasy points per target, and it's just the catch rate, right? Like, so on DraftKings, I think that he can, if Lockett doesn't get the bomb, right, then Metcalf is going to outscore him.
One thing I already noticed, and we'll have to talk about the Giants wide receivers in a second, is it's not hard to afford whoever you want. Keep that in mind as you're building.
Yes,
there's very, very little in terms of like salary constraining you from doing whatever the hell you want. A little bit, but it's much lower than we normally see on these kind of slates because I don't feel the need to force like Geno and Jones into every single lineup. And once you don't feel that need. So if I was doing a cash lineup, here's my thing. Because Lockett and Metcalf often switch who does well, I think in a cash game, you probably just want to throw Geno in there instead of having to make that choice.
Sure.
Because the other way, you're just guessing. You're just guessing. I'd rather throw Geno in there. Yeah. Instead of having to make that choice in cash. Not in tournaments, though. In tournaments, you want to choose. Right.
I mean, we'll build a lineup here in a second, but how do you not take one of them with just the way the lineup goes?
Well, I just meant specifically for cash. If I want to make sure I don't make a mistake, but
Like
I also
Geno,
think it's probably DK
yeah.
Metcalf in cash also because he's got a little higher floor.
That's what I'm saying. Like, aren't you going to end up with that much salary and just have to, you know what I mean?
I haven't forced Geno. I was looking at one or the other, and it looks much better. It's like the lineup, you can get Waller. I'll show you what it is. You can get Waller and Lockett together.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm going
like,
on here to build right now.
There's like a certain build that you can do, and you can't afford Metcalf or Geno in it, but it looks really good. But I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm still thinking about it.
All right, yeah.
So we forgot to talk about Breida. I think Breida's fine. It doesn't project well the Giants' running game though, but I think Breida's fine. He's going to be the starting running back. He's priced up at he's actually not priced in a level that is difficult to afford. $6,400 for a starting running back. It's hard to ignore this.
Yep.
You can't ignore Breida. Do not. I mean, $6,400 and he's starting. That's a gift. That's a gift. You probably have to play Breida at this price. It's too good. But certainly not all in, but that is a very good price. I have some interesting notes about the wide receiver group for the Giants.
Yeah, what do you got?
So, I mean, there's a lot of notes here, but first is, seeing Hodgins priced above Slayton is interesting.
Weird, right?
I don't like any of them that much, to be honest with you. Like, Slayton's on the field the most. He has that deep A dot.
Yep.
Hodgins we saw last year have some monster games. He hasn't done it yet this year.
No, has not. Like, he was the guy at the end of the season last year and just hasn't really done much anything.
That doesn't matter, though. You know what? That could start this week. That could start
this
week. They're
beat up. They're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the 44 is even that bad. It's like it's better than Charbonnet, and it's not that much different. You've got Walker, who's the most expensive guy on the slate at 65 or 64 yards. So it's like, it's not that different to me.
Are you putting Breida in your cash lineup?
Yes. Yeah, he belongs in the cash lineup.
Now I'm curious because I just built mine, so I want to see what you ended up.
I want to see what you have as well. But I think Breida belongs in there. So, Darren Waller, great play. They're trying to feed him.
I don't think he's captain material. Do you?
We've seen Waller as a player be the captain. So yes, I do think he could be used. Not in a double digits percentage ownership way, but in like let me throw some unlikely long shots in the captain spot.
Right.
Waller is that unlikely long shot.
I feel
would
like
put him at the same likelihood as Pacheco was yesterday, and that worked out.
I feel like with Waller, if he's putting up the sort of, because in my head, I'm like, okay, looking at the total, like what it looks like, 107 catches, tutty, right? So we're looking at like 27, 28 points. If he does that, don't you think Daniel Jones is going to outscore him?
You would expect, unless it's a Waller game. Like, he would have to score 2 touchdowns. He would have to go absolutely bonkers. But it could happen. That's what I'm saying. Like, A, Danny Jones doesn't run for a touchdown. Let's start there. Sure. And B, all of the production, because the Giants don't have like another alpha. It's like Waller could be the full alpha. By the way, 480 people watching live simultaneous. That's spectacular, cool. Guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, and smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for those of you who are watching. That's awesome. That's the most I think we've ever had watching live.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Really cool. So, all right, continuing on here. I think all of the wide receivers for the Giants, like Slayton is a thin play. He could just get 3 targets and do nothing, or he can catch a touchdown. He's a high A dot guy. And so these are just like GPP mix guys. I like that you kind of have them the same at 2.5 stars.
I kind of like, now that I can see ownership, I kind of like Hodgins a little bit better just at the price and then at half the ownership almost, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's weird. They should be about the same. Now, these guys are super high owned, but like they should be about the same. I like the lower ownership. Yeah, I like the lower ownership for Isaiah Hodgins, to be honest. Jackson Smith and Jigba has not come around yet. In terms of like a player that you need to account for, he's just not there yet. but you know it could happen at any moment.
I mean, obviously they drafted him highly. They think he's a good player. I think that the finger injury just put him back. You know what I mean? Like he's having a hard time now catching up.
Yeah, definitely. In Dynasty right now, who would you rather have, guys? And this is for you guys. What if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, which I do and I love? It's my favorite fantasy football now. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who went effectively third in the rookie draft like a month ago, or Puka Nacua, who went in the 4th round. And by the way, I'm trading for Puka. Like if I got JSN, I already traded for Puka, but like I take Puka over JSN all day.
He's been unreal.
Yeah, no, JSN was an extreme can't fail. He's so damn good level stud in college, and I don't think he will fail. But he hasn't done it yet. He hasn't done it yet.
Yeah. It's coming at some point. I don't know if it's going to be week 4.
And he's expensive here in the 5K range. We have what we're calling. Wait, what was the word? A turd? X-Factored.
X-Factored.
The X-Factored player is coming up. So stick around as we make our way down, because there is one player that I really like as the X.
Shout out to Bobbywow, who's sick today and he can't be here, but he claimed X-Factored.
Bobbywow's got his like 9th bout of COVID going on, something over there in the Wow household. Hold on, the Wow household, very frequent COVID household.
Wow,
that's for Bobby. All right. So, Gary Brightwell, again, coming back to him. I don't love it for 4,800, but it is noteworthy that he got as many opportunities at the running back position as Breida did last week, and we don't fully know. Breida's very small. People don't realize this. Matt Breida is he's like Devon Achane level small. Yeah,
Matt Breida, same
5'10", 9.
We talked about that on it last week.
Yeah, he's very small. People don't know it, so I have to repeat it all the time. He is not a normal-sized running back, and he's not the kind of running back that you would think a team would just have in the game the whole time. Very tiny. Popped up on the injury report. No offense. What about these defenses? Any interest on either side?
Not really. I mean, neither of them are good. The Giants have 1 sack. 1 sack on the year. Like, I get that they're playing good teams, but yeah, I mean, but again, this is sort of maybe the spot to get on because they're going to be so under-owned.
Kevin Hart. Matt Breida. They're the same size. It's true. So I don't know. I'm not super high on the defenses. The Giants are at home. Usually the home defense is going to be the better defense. Of course, the Giants sometimes just implode as an offense and they just suck. So, you can play Seattle for that reason. Here's what I would do.
They have 2 sacks on the year.
Yeah, there we go. So here's what I would do.
0.3 fantasy points per game
with defense. If you're running the 5-1 onslaught, let's say you're like, you want to play a game as you script out the lineups, you want to roll an onslaught, right? Seattle, your thought is, let's say you're going into this game and I'm going to win the million by saying Danny Dimes sucks. The whole Giants offense is going to stink and Seattle's going to dominate them tonight. Danny Dimes can't play on prime time. I'm not saying any of these things. I'm saying if you think that that's the way that the game goes, I would force Seattle defense in that 5-1 onslaught. So if you're running 5-1 onslaughts of Seattle or Giants, where you're running 5 Giants players, 1 Seattle, like we're going to destroy these guys like you would if Dallas is playing like a bad offense, right, at home. Just like what they did to whoever the hell they played this week, where they just absolutely smacked them in the face. That kind of game, you want to make sure that defense is there. So if you run the 5-1, the onslaught approach, I would add the defense, but outside of those, I'm not super excited. I think you just roll your 15%, 9, 8, 12% defense exposures. What do you think in terms of percentages?
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd end up that high.
That's fair. All right, the X Factored for me, and we have a few of these. But the X
I have one
Factor.
too, so you got the one,
Again,
and then I'll get the other.
hashtag credit Bobbywow for that, because that was super funny in the chat that we have talking about the show when he came up with that. But Mamba says that's a good size. 5'10", 190.
I'm 5'10", 190. I'm not a little dude saying that. Like, that is me. We're the same person.
First of all, I love my short kings, bro. Come on. But I'm just saying, that's not the size of an NFL running back, all right? That is just not the normal size. They are 220-pound individuals. So when you have a 190-pounder, that's a guy like Devon Achane who can do some cool shit, but isn't normally somebody you expect to be out there for all the snaps. He can't take that much of a beating. He's too small. Weight classes are there for a reason. It's true. Wan'Dale Robinson, the reason I like Wan'Dale is because, yes, he only got 30% of the snaps last week, but that was effectively his first game back off of a long form injury. I don't think that means we're going to see Wan'Dale 70% snaps. Like, he had a legit injury that he is rehabbing from, but I like him to step up, and I like that the Giants run plays designed for him. Plus, as was mentioned here in the chat, Seattle's really attackable via the slot, and Puka and all the slot wide receivers have actually gone crazy on these guys. Puka going crazy on everybody, so whatever. But for the price at $3K, Wan'Dale does not need to do that much.
Pretty good.
He's got to outscore kickers, so like 3-4 receptions, 40-50 yards. He's already there. Right. At $3K, that is not a high price. And he was really good last year.
Really good.
The other slot receiver, Paris Campbell, like, that's effectively, I think he's playable too, to be honest. I think these two are going to be splitting snaps, and both of them are in play. I like the price point. Who's your X Factor?
Your boy Colby Parkinson.
Colby.
I just think with Fant and Disley, like, the salary just makes so much work. Like, your lineup looks so much better with those guys in there. And I'm gonna be on. I'm really coming around based on our research on the showdown analysis of getting a cheapy sub 1K guy in my lineup, if not a $2,000 guy. And the way that you can, just the way the rest of your lineup works, even if they get a 0, you have a chance to cash, right? So I'm pretty high on Colby Parkinson potentially getting even more work tonight.
I'm good with it, especially with again, the Q tags on the other tight ends. And one thing you know about Seattle is they throw to the tight end quite a bit. Normally they have a lot of them, and it ruins the fantasy production. But if they have fewer, you know what else happens if they have fewer tight ends, though? Let's pay close attention to Disley and Fant, because if both of them happen to be out, I don't know if it's going to happen. Still 5:45 right now in real time. We won't know for another hour or so. Yeah, but if both of them are out, look for a higher rate of 3 wide, which will benefit Jackson Smith and Jigba the best out of anybody. So, or turd number 2, Jake Bobo. I mean, it might be Bobo, or it could be JSN, but these other wide receivers will benefit most if one of those tight ends, or both of them especially. Listen, Seattle will run 3 tight ends on the field at the same time. They will play them all. So you gotta be, and you know that other. I mean, dude, it could be JSN breakout. That could happen. So, but again, I think it requires almost like those tight ends being out. So let's pay attention at lock. And then, yes, there are 2 more turds that I think are super relevant.
I don't know how I missed Danny Bellinger.
Bellinger has been my Giants turd for all of these showdowns. Yeah. Bellinger, let's go back to the matchup sheet. Bellinger was on the field almost as much as Waller.
Yes.
Now, they don't throw to him as much. But, we don't need them to be throwing to him all game. You know when Bellinger gets the ball? Remember yesterday we watched the game and it's like, who dat? And it's Alec Ogletree catching touchdowns. What game was that? It was the Colts. And I'm like, who the hell is catching a touchdown? When you get these teams down by the goal line, again, think about the Giants. What do they have on their team? A tiny Kevin Hart-sized running back. So are they likely to smash one in at the goal line? Now the quarterback can take it in. And yes, Matt Breida, they will run him into the line, but he's a little man. And we see with these teams, they don't like to run out. Even Cook on the Bills came out of the game by the goal line. They got Latz Murray for that role because he's not big enough. It was miraculous. They almost took it away.
I know.
But so they don't like to run the little guy into the goal line, which opens up the possibility of the fake and who goes out there, but the fatty in the goal line, in the goal line stand, right? In the goal line formation, the fatty at the end, that's not Waller, that's Bellinger. That's floating out for the easy touchdown. So
chip block, touchdown.
Yeah. And by the way, and Darren Sproles, great. Listen, productive, but was not used at the goal line either. Like that was a guy that you were open for PPR points from.
From outside the
they
20. Exist.
And yes, and I'll go through it. You want me to talk about Jamal Charles at 200 pounds? Like there have been some great running backs. CJ2K was like around 200 pounds. What's that?
He was little.
He was like 198. There have been some, although we haven't seen a 190 pounder yet. That was good enough. I think Devon Achane is going to be that guy. Achane, I can't say it.
Right. I think we could be there with him.
Yeah. All right. Let's pop up the DraftKings screen here. And I was kind of trying to put together a little cash lineup action earlier. This is about where I got to with Breida, Metcalf. So here's one of the things that, like, for me, I was struggling with.
We were just talking about this, right?
Yeah, you can go Lockett, Waller in this lineup, right? You could get them both. Or if you go Metcalf, you're kind of stuck with an Isaiah Hodgins, Slayton type decision, or going all the way down to a kicker.
I'm going to tell you something here. I'm going to go, if this is my cash lineup, and kind of what you talked about earlier is not having to pick between the two. If you go Geno, kicker.
Yeah, that seems higher floor. So yeah, something like that. And then at 5,400, not even worrying about these, but just slapping one of the two kickers in there. And which kicker? I don't know. Myers, I guess. Something like that will be either way. Yeah, that'd be really interesting for cash. And of course, in tournaments, I would not do this. I think in tournaments, you do make this decision. So I really like, these versions, like a little Waller Lockett combo in tournaments, something like that, and then mix it up from there. But
I like
that. That's DraftKings for you. So let's take a brief glance. I mean, Lauren likes Hyatt. I don't know about Hyatt here.
I mean, especially with Wan'Dale Robinson back, I'm not sold on Jalen Hyatt, but I mean, the guy, he can catch a deep ball, right?
He could do it. He could be that guy. 100%.
Yep.
He could be that guy. Tournament mix for sure.
I mean, we're blessed that FanDuel has allowed us to log in. So let's go over there real quick.
Yeah, I finally got logged on to freaking FanDuel. I don't know what their problem is, why they don't want people playing their stupid game. But all right, let's take a quick look at the FanDuel sheet here. Yes, Will Dissly at captain is not good. Yeah, that is just that is a bridge too far, Chilal. No. So what I love here is you've got a very tight player pool. Now, somebody asked me yesterday, I just want to go over this one as well. Somebody asked me yesterday, they're like, I played FanDuel, I maxed it out, I hit like 70th place with my best lineup, I lost a bunch of money. Why did that happen? And the answer is because you're going to have a lot of ties on FanDuel. And if you do not win and you're maxing out the tournament, you're 100% going to be losing money that day. There's no way of coming out of 150 lineups without first place on FanDuel the way that sets up and not winning. Okay, you're going to lose.
I don't even know. Like, for me, when I play over there, I'm almost never running 150. Even in the 150 max, I'm playing 70, 80, 90, 100, just because the reality is that you're just going to get a bunch of lineups at the bottom that have no chance. And it's just
it's ties, and in order to win on FanDuel, there's massive ties. So because they're just for this reason, you literally only identified 3 potential MVPs, and I agree with you. I'm not looking at this going, you left someone out. Listen,
it's 90% outcome that it's one of these 3.
Could you mix in DK Metcalf and Lockett? Sure. Could you mix in maybe Waller or Burrito or sure, if you wanted to mix it up, but you don't really need to mix it up too much here. These are your guys. I would lean again, Jones. You've got Walker ahead of Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd go that way. I think I like Jones more than Walker.
I think I like Jones in the upside potential. I think it's more likely that Walker is the nuts MVP than it is that Daniel Jones is.
That's fair. If you've got Walker as your MVP, I'd almost not want to use Geno in that lineup.
It doesn't work anyways, I don't think.
Yeah, salary wise as well, it makes it difficult. Yep. But yeah, I think there's a pretty negative correlation between two players like this. So I'd probably avoid Geno, especially because they're both so expensive. In that version of a lineup. Moving on from there, let's just take a look at the pricing. So, you want touchdown scorers on FanDuel. I think Breida is absolutely in play. Yep. Metcalf, Lockett again. Both,
they're almost in that dead zone.
You can't play them both. You got to kind of choose.
No, and they're almost that 13,000 or whatever 13,000 price range is kind of a dead zone on FanDuel all the time. It's hard.
Yeah, because you generally want to reach up for these expensive ones.
It's hard.
You end up having to ignore this in order to make the lineup work. Like, oh, I want to play. I want to start like that. I'm already down to 9,500. So let's continue. Just let me scroll down the sheet here. Yeah, I mean, I normally don't play guys as sort of thin as Colby Parkinson on FanDuel, but
I kind of like it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Again, if that injury happens, especially, I really don't dislike it. You want touchdown scores? These wide receivers, Paris Campbell and Wan'Dale, while they might get a bunch of receptions, I don't mind Wan'Dale at this price at all. No, they're probably not touchdown scorers.
Right. I like the kickers here this week again. Graham Gano's too cheap.
Let me see how this looks. So if you start with these two, you're down to 9,500. Now, again, you've got the Parkinson way, which allows you one kicker and one more stud.
Okay.
Or, and that's the only real pay down.
That's what I just built on my phone right now.
Yeah. You're going to do that. Or you're going to try to play these two kickers, because we like our kickers on FanDuel, and that gives you 10.5, which is not a stud. I mean, if this would have left you with Breida, that would have been done.
Ideal, but they know what they're doing. That $500 every time.
You think they know what they're doing? Or it's
no,
just
I
random?
Don't.
I don't think so either. I think it's just random. So I don't like this version because you end up with Isaiah Hodgins. So that's no good. So in a version like this, I'd either want one more stud, and let's say even Breida isn't such a stud, but he's another good player, and then you have to choose. Yeah, okay. Well, this is a difficult choice because I just scrolled all the way down and there's nobody really there.
Not a chance. Yeah.
Seattle Giants defense. Gary Brightwell. Only, Brightwell's okay too. By the way, one other thought. So let's give how I called the Aaron Rodgers situation.
Yeah.
I was like, just play a little Zach Wilson just in case. I think Gary Bright. What's that?
I said that last night that you needed a little Tim Boyle just in case. Even though I liked Zach Wilson last night and he looked great, like I just said, this is one of those situations where maybe you get a little bit of action on him there.
Zach Wilson last night went from a boy to a man.
Boy to a man.
I've watched every game that kid has played, and this is the first one. And I know the Jets have had wins. This was the first time when he played like an NFL quarterback. So
yeah,
whatever that's worth, that happened yesterday. Let's see if it ever happens again. But I don't know. So a couple of injury situations to account for. You ready for this?
Yep.
Walker gets hurt. Charbonnet goes bonkers.
Smash.
Breida gets hurt. You've got Brightwell, who could put up a tournament winning score.
Yep.
That's all I got. I don't think either quarterback's backup
I like
matters.
the call on Jackson Smith and Jigba too. Even if maybe just one of them are out, like I think that JSN becomes more interesting.
bump JSN if we find out that any of these tight ends are out, and especially though, much more so if both of them are out. If Font and Disley are out, they're gonna have to run 3 wide. That means JSN going to be on the field most of the snaps or a lot of the snaps, and that is huge. Waller injury, again, if Waller gets hurt, there we go. That Bellinger Bellinger could pop up, and Bellinger at 200 catches a touchdown in the nuts. $1 million lineup. JSN, Jackson Smith Njigba. It's not the easiest name to say. It's quite long.
That's why we go JSN.
Please allow us the acronym as it.
All right, I feel good about this.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for this Showdown Breakdown, guys. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe. I will be back, your boy, with my DraftKings and FanDuel first look lineups no later than tomorrow, right here on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed. You get the notification bell. Everybody likes the first look. I've already taken a look at week 5, and it is a fun one. I'm keeping the boner alert.
Ooh.
There's one game that's going to be the boner alert game every single week, and we have one for this week. So you got to watch. Stay tuned to find out what that is.
And we got to get Bobbywow back, because on Wednesday, right? Like, we're talking Bears and Washington Commanders right here.
Bears on. Oh yeah. We'll get Wow back for a Bears breakdown. That's a must.
Absolutely.
So we'll be back, of course, on Wednesday with another Showdown breakdown. We'll get Bobbywow back here as well for that one. Wow. Yeah, I got to get him back here. And good luck tonight, everybody. We will see you on top of those leaderboards.
Let's go.